Hey, this is Ryan at Take a Break Spas and Billiards, and today we're going over the J-485, the best hot tub that Jacuzzi offers, just under the J-495, which is their largest model. But this one has it all. It is super comfortable and spacious to accommodate multiple bathers. It is preloaded with all the features that we love, from SmartTub, infrared therapy, winter wrap, extreme cover, and circulation and filtration settings. We'll get into all of that in this video, so let's get in. All right, first we're going to start with the basic operations of this hot tub. How does the topside work and how do the knobs and diverters work? The topside control is really easy to understand because it does label each thing that you're trying to get at with nice convenient little icons. For example, you have jets as jets, lights, settings, these are your heat settings, and this is water care. First, we're gonna start with jets because that's the favorite part of everybody's hot tub is, how do I get my therapy? So, once you hit this button, it turns on both jets simultaneously. So, we're gonna focus on jets 1 first, which are these two jets here on the left side relative to the topside controls. Pump 1 controls your captain's chair, which is the RX therapy with the slow swirling jets, and the MX therapy seat, which are these larger jets that are great for targeting larger muscles and really directing where you want because they're directional. Very powerful jets. You can control them simply with this diverter right here, which you can see there's this arrow, and you point that arrow to the seat where you want the pressure to go. So if I turn it here to the right, it sends it over here to the MX therapy seat. And this is really nice because you can just with the palm of your hand dial in that pressure that you really want to have in your seat rather than it always being all or nothing. So if I send all the pressure over here to the therapy seat, the RX therapy seat, we also have this toggle control right here, which is for your air controls. It's more true to character on how air controls actually works, either on or off. Most hot tubs have a dial and would have you believe that you're dialing your air pressure, but you're really not. It's either on or off. I dare you to try it next time. But you have this hot tub, so you have a toggle on, which turns the air on, and toggle off. Whatever toggle is adjacent to that seat you're in is what's going to control the air ratio for that seat, which is really intuitive. Let's also dive into the fact that you can customize jets down to the jet as well by simply spinning their face. So these neck jets here in the RX therapy seat, I can turn off by simply just rotating them a little to the left. And now they're off, or at least much less pressure than they would, because if I turn them on, they really get cooking. In this seat as well, because every jet in this spa you can spin the face of to turn them on and off, but on this seat specifically, the MX jet has a big rod where the jet comes out and it has a 6-pointed star, and that's what you turn to turn it on and off instead of the face. So down in here, if I spin that like so, now that center jet is off. I can turn those air controls off and turn that jet back on. So that is basic operations for pump 1. Now we're going to switch to pump 2. All right, now I'm over here with pump 2 turned on, and it's going to control this other half of the spa. I have a diverter valve right here that allows me to send the pressure over to this seat, which has more jets that are laterally spaced along your upper shoulders, as well as your lower back, in order to get more of that upper body massage. And then you have toggles that can turn these on. It also has wrist jets for wrist alleviation. I can turn the therapy over to here now on this side, which has a good center back, and I have toggles for that seat as well. And you notice when I toggle this, it does turn on the center seat right here, which has 2 RX small swirling jets. You can turn the faces of those and send that pressure. Actually, that's 4. There's 4 jets. I thought it was 2. And it will send even more of that pressure now over to this seat. As you can see there. I'll turn those back on. This seat also has some calf jets down there, and there are footwell jets. Whenever you turn on a seat, it will send pressure to that specific seat's feet jets for that one. You can turn those on and off as well. And that's it for pump 2 on this half of the spa. Now that we've talked about the massage pumps, let's take a closer look at our topside control here. On here, we have our ability to control the heat, which is simply just with an up and a down arrow. You see right here, this is where I'm setting the target temperature for, and then it will go back to what my current temperature is, just like that. I'm gonna set it for 100 because that's actually my preferred temperature. We also have lights right here, which are quite intuitive. This is for brightness and power, and then this is for whether or not you want the speed to be faster or slower if it's cycling through colors. Right now I just have it on blue because you can tap this wheel to select a very specific color that you want to have, like red, yellow, green, orange, blue, and then I can decrease or increase the brightness like so. But as soon as I hit this right here, see that changes it to speed 1 and gets rid of the lights here, because now it's on a circular rotation of the lights, and I can increase it to be a fast cycle through all the colors or a slow cycle through the colors. Right here, this is exterior lights. So when I hit that, now my corner lights are on. And then the last thing is this IR therapy right here. This is brand new for the J400 series of 2024 and forward. If I hit this, it will turn on the red light therapy in one of the therapy seats. And it counts down from 20 minutes, because 20 minutes is a normal therapy session. Like when you turn on jets, they will go for 20 minutes. Same as the infrared, it will go for 20 minutes before turning off. That helps you know that you've been in your spa for 20 minutes, and that way the equipment is not going to be overextending itself if somebody forget to turn it off. But hit that and it will turn it back off. All right, now we're gonna go over the advanced topside controls. Right here on our nice touch screen, we are going to enter into lights first, because we need to go over one quick thing on your exterior lights. Not only does it have one mode right here where it's bright, you also have a more dimmer setting, and when you hit this button right here, the clock means that it will now be on a timer basis, which means it will turn the exterior lights on at night. So if you have your clock configured on the spa, you can have it so it will engage the lights at night when it's dark. So that is what that setting means. Now we will leave that and we'll come into our water care settings. I think that's the next most important thing. On most Jacuzzi models, this button here is your on-demand for CLEARRAY, which means it will engage your circulation pump and engage your CLEARRAY bulb and your ozonator and all that jazz. On the new 2024 series and going forward, this has changed. You can see that here at the end of the video when we cover the true water system. Now, let's go over here into our gear settings. The first one that it takes you to is water care. On water care, to access it, you'll actually just tap the screen, because these arrows right here will just scroll the menu. So if I tap on that, now we're entered into the water care and we are given a list of basically different timers on our spa. We have the CLEARRAY bulb, which is your ultraviolet C light. That needs to be replaced every year so that the filament is emitting that ultraviolet C radiation, basically to break down DNA. You have water refresh, which is a timer that counts down to when you should change the water out of your spa. Pro Clarity is your standard filter. This is a recommendation of when you should change your filter, though we do recommend changing your filters every year or so. And we'll get more into that into our filter maintenance section. We do have timestamps on the scroll bars. You can actually see those. You can skip to the section you want. Again, going down this list, we have Pro Clarity Depth. That's the last one, which is the micro clean filter. And again, these are timers. If I tap on any one of these things, it takes me to the timer, and I can reset the number of days that I want to have on this. See how I hit up, it actually put it to blank. If I don't want a reminder at all, this is the option that you go with. But I hit that down arrow, and I can set any number of days. And I hit this check mark right here, and it resets to the number of days I just designated. And you can do that for any of these. You can either have the timer on, you can have it off, and with SmartTub, which all our 400 series does come with, you can manage these timers in your app as well, which I find very helpful. But this is how you do it from your topside controls. Moving on, the next most important one is your heat and filter settings. If we tap into that, your heat and filter settings gives you your options for your heaters first. Auto means that whenever you set your target temperature to, your spa will go to that target temperature no matter what. If it drops 1 degree, bam, it's gonna kick on the heater and the pump, and it's gonna go right to that new level that it's supposed to be at. Economy means that the heater will only engage during the nighttime. And then day mode means that it will only be heating during the day, which might even help during the winter if you're trying to conserve power. Maybe you're leaving for something. It can heat during the day when it's hot, and it can use that additional heat to get up there. But you have your option to choose either heat at day or heat at night. But for the most part, we just leave it at auto. Now on your filter settings, we have filter settings 1 and 2. 1 means primary filter and 2 is your secondary filter. On your primary filter, it is your circulation pump, which will be pulling through that filter that has the depth load little bucket on it. It has the pleated filter and it goes down to the micro clean. This is when your circulation pump will be operating. It's a small 0.7 amp pump and doesn't pull a lot of amperage, and we typically recommend putting this to 24 hours of filtration because of how little power it does take to keep that water nice and clean. But you can set the time of day that it starts. Right? I can start in the morning at 1 in the morning, and I can set end time all the way up to hour number 22. This is military time, right? So 13, 14, these are just afternoon times. But I can set this to 23, and I can even set that to 0-100 hours, which is midnight. And now this spa is configured to operate basically 24 hours of the day to get the maximum amount of filtration. But you can change these filtration settings in your SmartTub app, or here if you're, again, leaving and you want smaller filtration times. Now we back out to the secondary filter, hit that number 2, and you get 3 options. This is when your large massage pumps will engage to move that water, because again, stagnant water is gross water, right? And so we need to make sure that that water is moving through the filters. This will pull through the second filter that's all pleated in your jacuzzi, and you can set either frequent, infrequent, or away. Frequent is typical standard. It means it will run 8 times a day for 20 minutes. Infrequent is 4 times a day, and away is twice a day. We recommend frequent because that again will move the water, move it through your filters, and get more filtration, because the filter is what's responsible for keeping that water nice and crystal clear. So that's how you do secondary filtration. Now we're going to go back all the way out. On information, it simply displays, usually our service technicians will use this menu, but your water temp, your high limit, and all these other things. Spa version, you only need to get into this if you are wanting to do a deep dive into service. But as an owner, you typically don't need to get into this because it doesn't have a lot of relevant information. Units is to change your units from gallons to liters. Language, you can change it to Spanish, French, and other languages. Time and date, it's pretty self-explanatory. Set your current date and time so that your other settings can behave correctly. And the last one is lock. So you can lock your spa out from use. I really like this on the app because you can just set the lock there and then you can unlock it from there as well. But from here you can set a pin and you can make it so that people can't change the heater settings. You can lock out the tub entirely so nobody can engage the pumps and other things like that if you are concerned about access to the spa and someone having unauthorized access to the spa, and you can disengage it that way. This might really help for VRBOs or things like that if you're concerned, again, of people coming and accessing the tub when they shouldn't, and if they get past the clips on those. But that's it for the advanced controls. Right, now we're going to talk about the 400 series filters. In here we have 2 filters hidden behind the shroud, which just clips right there. You do have a skimmer right here that does skim surface impurities, because remember, all water impurities either float or sink. And so we are skimming the surface impurities. The ones that sink, we recommend getting a vacuum for. We have those available in our stores and on our website. But this system here is skimming those surface impurities off the top and then bringing them into these filters here. So you got 2 filters, filter 1 and filter 2. This is your primary filter. This is what your circ pump pulls through. And on our earlier discussion about filter settings, primary filter 1 is pulling through this. Secondary filtration is pulling through here, which is when your massage pumps pull. So in here, you can simply remove these by unscrewing, and they come out. And you know that this port is your circulation pump because it has a grate that prevents stuff from going into the plumbing, because it's very important that nothing goes into that circ pump. The other one will just be an open port down to through to the plumbing. That's one important distinction. If you have both filters out and you're like, oh shoot, which one does this filter go into? It goes into the one with the grill grate, right here. Now, both of these filters, I would recommend replacing about every year. That's a good rate of replacing for them. The manufacturer recommends every 4 to 6 months, but really when you go to spray these filters out and they just don't come clean anymore, that's usually a great time to start replacing them, because when they're really dirty like that and they don't come clean, you're going to start noticing problems with your circulation. You'll get flow 1 errors. It will cause gaps in the line because you're cavitating your pumps. So in this bucket here, if I pull this pin out, I can just partially rotate that filter off and expose the Jacuzzi depth load filter. So this is your micro clean filter. This cleans down to a much finer particulate, probably about 10 times more finer than your standard trilobal media. And this is to skim out things that like cause bubbles or really small media it just passes right through standard trilobal media. This will collect. This is supposed to help so that you don't have to use things like Bright and Clear so much, which is a coagulator, or other filter or water clarifiers and filter assistants that you put in your water. You can opt for just 2 of these standard filters if you want to, because it's so dense, you can't spray this out. It's made to be disposed of, and you replace this every 4 months. If you're not replacing it every 4 months, you might again notice flow 1 errors a lot more commonly because this guy is plugged up. And so you can opt for this if you just want to go for a standard media, but I do recommend this because this makes maintaining your water much easier. Now, when I snap this back in here, throw the pin back in, these Jacuzzi proprietary filters do have caps built into them for the ProClear mineral system, which we will have a video about on making your system for ProClear, but not so many people are running ProClear as much as they used to because of the Frog Ease system, which is what I want to talk about right here. But I'm just going to screw that back in. And this is your bracket for your Frog Ease system. You will snap in your cartridges simply into this, and it goes just right around your filter, like so. So that whenever water is flowing, it's contacting these cartridges. You don't want to put it on your primary filter, A, because it's too small, you'll notice. So it just kind of doesn't really grab it as good. But you'd also have too much flow coming through here, and you would wear out your minerals and chlorine tablet faster than you would want to otherwise. So you'll put it on your secondary filter because it fits, and you just put it right there. Then, when you're done, simply replace your grate, and away you go. You notice that I kind of lifted this as I came in, because if you leave it down, it will stay down. It's just kind of handy just to like put that up, and it will rest on top of the filters, and away we go. And that's how you do your filters in your 400 series. Now let's get into some of the cover care and maintenance basics. All of our hot tubs come with a SunStrong cover, which is far better than the vinyl covers of the past, because vinyl covers in the past would dry out and crack and all that fun stuff. But SunStrong is made to be UV resistant, and it's much lighter weight. So for your cover maintenance on this, really you just want to make sure that it's free of debris when you open it so that nothing punctures, and the extra weight of like snow doesn't overload whatever cover lifter you have. I also highly suggest a cover lifter on all 400 series models. We've tried to make sure that there's always a cover lifter on them because they're big and they're thicker because they have the extreme core in it, which is more dense and has a greater amount of volume to it for better insulation and better snow load. You can see it's all sloped down this way. This is so that water can run off this way. If you ever wanted to do a care maintenance thing to your cover, we have Fabric Guard made by 303 that we highly suggest. You can spray that on maybe like once a year, which helps bring back its water repellency. You can also use it to help clean the cover as well. But that's one reason why we really do like these covers, because they do require less maintenance than vinyl covers of the past, which you did need to treat with some kind of treatment which would rehydrate the vinyl so that it wouldn't crack. But you won't get that with fabric covers. But simply, to shut it, you just grab it and shut it down, and open it, you just go back the other way. But let's look at the cover clips right here. Now, Jacuzzi cover clips are designed with the paddle design. You just push that button in and it releases the paddle, which I like a lot more than the pinchy clips, because sometimes I just couldn't get those all the way. But this one, you just push it in and bam, it will come out. You also have a locking feature, which you can control with one of these, or honestly, you can use a flathead screwdriver or anything, but don't tell the kids that. That effectively makes it so that kids can't push that button in and pop it out. If you ever do need replacement cover clips, typically if these ever break, they're going to break right here, which is actually by design, because if they reinforce this, then you would be ripping this whole tassel off, and you would not be able to come and re-stitch new tassels on that. You'd basically have to get a brand new cover for that. So these are made to be replaceable. You basically just snip this. If you're getting a Jacuzzi branded one, you just feed it back onto here, or we have 3D printed ones that you can come and just snap them back on. But it's really good, simple construction that's meant to protect your spa and keep it secure. All right, now we're gonna take a deep dive into the internals of your J400 Jacuzzi. To start off with, we gain access by pulling off these tool-free cabinetries. You gotta pull off both front corners first, and on these newer models, you pull from the top. In fact, I believe it's always from the top. You see you got these clips right here that go into this bar, and you got these little hangers that go into these slots. This wire is your corner lights. So generally I just leave those attached, and I just put this off to the side. Then on your main panel, we are going to lift and then pull out, and then it will come down. All right, again, gain access from the center panel. You lift, out, and down. And now we are on the inside. Again, you got a wire right here for your front indicator light. Now, I'm just gonna rotate this out of the way. Like so. And now we're on the inside of your spa. And here in the equipment, for brief identification, this is the control pack. This is the brains of your spa. It also has the heater tube in here, which has your titanium coil style heater, which makes the 400 series a lot more optimized for heating. Then you also have your CLEARRAY bulb, which we'll talk about, your ozonator, your drain, your pumps. You got your massage pumps in over here, and your circ pump is right here. And on the 495, the bigger models, you have your additional third pump right there. First and foremost, you as an owner will be getting into this on a yearly basis for one of two reasons. Number one, to replace this CLEARRAY bulb. So let's get into that. You will access that by simply removing these 4 screws. And if you don't want to handle CLEARRAY bulb replacements, we do have our water valet service that will handle this for you if you're part of our water valet service. But otherwise, doing a self-install on this was fully intended by the engineers of this device, so it's super easy to replace. Now, with the power off, so that way the CLEARRAY isn't active, after having turned off the power to your spa, you can grab your CLEARRAY bulb out by grabbing this rubber boot right here, and you pull the bulb out. You can see the connector disconnected right there. You would simply purchase a new bulb in stores or on our website. And I believe the bulb should come with a glove as well. If it doesn't, that's okay. Just make sure to stick to these plastic parts, because touching your fingers to the glass can cause superheating of the glass and cause it to burst. Because of the oils on our fingers, it will concentrate the oils on our fingers and burst the glass. But you simply just connect these box connectors back up and slide it into the quartz tube. Now, that being said, that quartz tube in there is a stainless steel cuff that you can unscrew, and you can pull out the quartz tube that protects that bulb from the water, because the light emits out of the bulb and out of that quartz tube to where the water is circulating, because the bulb itself is not touching the water. The quartz tube does. And over years of use, that quartz tube can become clouded, especially if your pH wasn't managed correctly. So it is good to pull that out once every 2 years. Pull that out, see if it's gotten any clarity issues. You can polish it up, clean it, and throw it back in. If it breaks, we have replacements, but typically those don't need to be replaced, they just need to be cleaned. You just put them back in. And so we can throw this back on, and we're done with the CLEARRAY. The second reason that you'll access this interior part of your J400 series tub is to drain the spa. Now, if this front panel is in your way, you can remove it out of here. It'll just be tethered by this indicator light, which you can simply remove just by unscrewing these wing nuts. Pulls apart, take that panel out of here, and just screw your wing nuts right back on. Away you go. Now, you have 2 drains on your jacuzzi. This is the quick drain, which is super unique to just the 400 series. It does come with a 2-inch pipe right here that you'll be able to attach to this fitting, and you can roll out and it will drain out elsewhere. This drains straight from the pumps. It's a big line, so it will drain your spa in less than an hour. Super fast. To start the drain, obviously you got to remove this right here. It has this, if you have a pipe wrench, you remove that and then you pull up on your slice valve. That allows the flow of water. And this little guy right here is if you wanted it to stay locked up, but I don't recommend that because you want to be able to not have the spa drain. So we'll let that in and screw this back on. Now let's move on over to the slower paced drain. This is your second drain right here. This drain will drain slower than your quick drain. It'll take probably 4 or 5 hours to drain out of this one because it's a 1-inch tube. But you can connect your garden hose to this one. You simply unscrew this first cap right here, and you can screw on your hose. And then you can drain wherever you want. It can go further away from your spa. To engage the drain, there is another cuff right here. You just unscrew this, and then you pull out. And then it will start the flow. To stop, you push it back in, screw it back in. And it's as simple as that. All right, one piece of equipment in this spa here on the 400 series is the SmartTub unit. This is included on all of our 400 series tubs. But this is where the contact signal goes out because it's basically a cell phone. It uses LTE networks or Wi-Fi. It can pair to Wi-Fi wherever LTE is not available. But any upgrades that happen to this system will utilize these wires here to add any additional features that come down the road. Like right now they have their security system where it can tell if the spa is closed and locked or not, and water sensors where it can sense if there's water in the inner cavity or if your water level is too low. These options and additives are available in our store, and this is where they get connected to. If you're in an area where that you want to use LTE and you need a signal boost, you screw in an antenna into this box basically. And that is how SmartTub works. If you want to know more about how to use the actual app itself, we have a tutorial video that you can watch on that. The last couple of things to note here on the interior of your spa are two things. Number one, your serial plate that is located right here on the baseboard, right underneath your control pack. It will have your date of manufacture, your model, and your serial number. Should you ever need to know this information, this is the best place to find it other than contacting us directly, because we can help you find that information as well. But that is where that is. Second is your flow switch. This flow switch is clear so that you can see the contacts in it. This arrow points that the water flow direction is going this way because there's a paddle and a rod, right? And the paddle, when water is flowing, closes that paddle and it touches the rod. That's how the computer knows that there is flow going through. And when a pump is active and there's flow, everything's working good. If the pump is engaged and that paddle is not contacting the rod, it's a flow switch open, that is what triggers what we call a flow 1 sensor, or an open flow switch sensor, or just a flow error. This is what happens when your filter is clogged, or when there's an air bubble, maybe it sucked in some air because your water level's too low. Whatever the case may be, if you have lost the prime of the pump, that is what's telling the computer, hey, don't start the heater, I have an error with my flow. And you will see, if you try and turn it on, and that's not contacting, we have an issue with a flow 1 error. Now the other error is if that contactor is touching and the pumps are off. That is a flow 2 error, or a closed flow switch error, which means, hey, I think there's flow, but there's no pumps on. Fix me. And that is usually a service call. We will come out here, we'll remove these clamps, and we'll replace the flow switch, because usually that can get gummed up with either chemicals or calcium, or if it's just a bad flow switch. Luckily, these are super easy to replace and super cheap. Very easy to replace, but should you ever need a visual inspection of your flow and what's going on with the flow of your tub and the errors of that nature, your flow switch is your best friend to help you really know what's going on, because this is ultimately what tells the computer what's going on. And that's it for the interior here of the spa, so we're gonna close this thing back up. All right, for those of you who have a new 2024 model, you have the option of getting the upgraded True system, which upgrades your ozonator to a far more superior version, which allows you to dramatically reduce the amount of chemicals that you use, almost to none. You can control your True system on your Topside by hitting this water drop. Ordinarily, that water drop takes you to your water CLEARRAY on demand, and you can activate the circ pump. But in this case, it allows you to control your filter settings. You have 3 options to choose from: light, medium, and heavy, and they're pre-programmed. On light, which is the factory default, you will get 8 hours of filtration, and it will also do purge cycles with your main filter pumps at the end of those cycles. So it'll do 2 hours of this, right, where you have your circ pump running. And then once those 2 hours are up, it will engage the bigger pumps to move that water, make sure nothing's stagnant, and we're getting that extra filtration. You can boost it up to medium, which boosts it up to 12 hours. Again, still doing 2-hour sections, it's just more frequent throughout the day. And you have heavy, which is 16 hours, which again, 2 hours each time, but you have more frequent filtration. There will always be a secondary purge filtration with big massage pumps after each one. Just on the heavier ones, they shorten the time a little bit because you don't need as much, because that circulation pump is doing more of the work. And that is how you control your True system on your new spa. Some more True settings that you will find are the timers for replacing 2 key components of your True system. If you go into your gear settings and hit water care, you will see that there are 2 things on there that are exclusive to True users. One is the air filter, and the other is the ozone. These timers are counting down for you to be able to go in and replace them. Jacuzzi recommends that you change the air filter every 6 months, or when the beads go pink, and we'll look at that here in a second. And the actual ozone unit, they recommend replacing every 2 years. Now, we can probably extend those out a little further, again going off of the color of the beads for the air filter, and there's an indicator light on the ozone. But ultimately, these are just timers, so if you tap on these, you can reset the number of days that are on them, or you can even turn them off. That's all these are, so when they appear on your topside control, they're notifying you that these should probably have attention brought to them. And that's what the timers are for. Now let's look under the hood at the actual equipment. All right, now that we're under the hood here looking at our true systems, the first thing that you'll be replacing and we want to look at is your true air filter here. So this is what they suggest, and the timer will do every 6 months. But you also have this light color comparison guide right here that as the beads, as there are beads inside this, turn lighter and lighter, that's when it's time to replace it. So when your beads get this light shade of pink, it's time to replace it, which you simply do by just pulling off these clamps, loosening up this hose clamp here, throwing on your new one, and it's that easy. The next piece of equipment that will be changed is the actual ozonator itself, which they have on a timer for 2 years. And it's this guy right here. This is the actual ozone unit. Because in here you have your air filter, this is the air pump, and it goes to the ozonator and then down to the nano bubbler. Nano bubbler and the air pump don't need to be changed. The ozone would not surprise us if you could let it go a little longer, because ozones, like normal ozones, last 5 to 15 years, but this one is putting out different output. It's new technology, and to ensure that your water truly uses 99.999% less chlorine than any other hot tub, that's why they're going to recommend that this gets changed out, so that you're putting out the right gram and doing the right ozone. Because if this starts to go out, you'll notice it'll be harder and harder to keep that water sanitized, smelling good, looking clear, looking bright and vibrant. So to replace that, you just take off the screws right there. It's just 2 screws. Take off these hose clamps right here that connect to it. Throw your new one on and clamp your unit back onto it. The last thing is that there is a pressure gauge right here, air pressure gauge, and it does use a watch battery, and you simply just unscrew this lid basically and install a new watch battery so that the air pump knows how much pressure it is putting through. And these are the things that you'll need to pay attention to in your true spa. And that concludes our video on the J-485. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to your salesman on any of these other features that you want more info on. And if you need help with your spa, maybe it's not doing exactly what you want it to, or you have an issue, reach out to our service center, which is primed and ready to help out with any warranty calls or service calls that they can provide you. If you need help with water, we do have water valet services here in Utah where we can come out and take care of the water for you. But we also have water instruction and water testing in our stores as well for help on water. In fact, if you want more help on water, we do have these other videos that you can watch on how to take care of bromine and frog ease, which is some of the more common kits that we give out with our hot tubs. And with that, don't forget to take a break.